This is KGW News at noon.
Thanks for joining us today. I'm Brenda Braxton. Just a few hours ago, a wrenching, tearful plea from George Floyd's brother. He said, "Make it stop." He testified before Congress during a hearing on police accountability and racial bias in law enforcement. Here's what else he said.
People of all backgrounds, genders, and races have come together to demand change. Honor them, honor George, and make the necessary changes that make law enforcement the solution and not the problem.
The hearing is focusing on a sweeping new bill from House Democrats called the Justice in Policing Act. It would ban chokeholds and no-knock warrants in drug cases. The latter led to the fatal shooting of Breonna Taylor in Louisville, Kentucky in March. That case is still under investigation. Well, protesters have been demanding change ever since George Floyd died, pinned under the knee of a Minneapolis police officer in March. And yesterday, some progress locally. Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler announcing a list of significant reforms he intends to make to the city's police department. Those include cutting millions of dollars from police and ending some of the Bureau's programs. The City Council will discuss some of those items, then take a vote during a budget meeting this afternoon. Here are three things that Wheeler wants to do. Redirect $7 million from PPB and $5 million from other city funds to communities of color. Shut down the Bureau's transit division and gun violence reduction team. Also, ban racial profiling. We talked to demonstrators about whether they think these changes are enough.
Better than not doing it.
We need to do something, and so this is a first step. It's a step.
Meanwhile, the president of the Portland Police Association, Daryl Turner, says he believes the mayor is making a catastrophic mistake that will negatively impact public safety. Commissioner Joanne Hardesty also shared some of her ideas for police reform. She says she wants to defund school resource officers and create a new unarmed, non-police first response team. Well, Hardesty planned to take away money from the gun violence reduction team even before Wheeler made his announcement. She's been calling for that for quite some time now because the unit is controversial. It was initially called the Gang Enforcement Response Unit, but was rebranded to focus on all gun violence in the city, not just gangs. The name change came back in March of 2018 after an audit found the unit was disproportionately targeting Black Portlanders during traffic stops and wasn't necessarily focusing on suspected gang members.
The auditor's report shows that 59% of the stops, and this has been consistent since we've been collecting data, are of African Americans in a city with a 6% African American population. This is totally unexcusable and it must be addressed.
So that was Hardesty last year, calling for the unit to be dissolved. But former police chief Danielle Outlaw defended the unit's work. Last fall, we also talked to a sergeant in the unit who said officers on the team do not racially profile. There are now some new policies in place for how police handle protesters. A federal judge has granted a 14-day restraining order on the Bureau's ability to use tear gas. This is not an outright ban. Police can still use tear gas if lives or safety are at risk, but there are some limits. Portland is facing multiple lawsuits over the use of tear gas. A Multnomah County couple says they were tear gassed at a protest downtown on June 2nd as they were trying to leave.
This is a peaceful protest. We're just going to go march with everyone and listen to what's going on. And the atmosphere was peaceful until that time that the police ambushed everybody because nobody in the crowd expected for that to happen.
I've had property damage. I've had things stolen. And the impact that being gassed is, you can't even compare the two.
The couple is now suing the city for $200,000 for negligence and assault. Don't Shoot Portland and two other nonprofits are also suing. The protest movement is not just for adults. Children are getting involved too. Two kid-centered events happened in Portland yesterday. One was organized by a young boy with some help from his mom.
I was thinking that when I went to a Black Lives Matter protest not too long ago, and I thought, well, why not ask my mom if I can do a Black Lives Matter protest today? I wanted kids' voices to be heard.
One event in Southwest Portland was just a walk to the local Fred Meyer and back. The other was a gathering at Sunnyside School Park in Southeast. Turning now to our coronavirus coverage. In less than an hour at 1 o'clock, Multnomah County will hold a special meeting to reevaluate its reopening plan. So will it go forward or not? We have seen a spike in new infections, but as local health experts told Keely Chalmers, they expected that increase.
Did you anticipate this?
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely.
Dr. Claire Wheeler, a public health specialist at OHSU, has studied pretty much all the COVID-19 models and was by no means surprised by the recent spike. She says more widespread testing and contact tracing is leading to more known cases and therefore contributing to the uptick, as are the recent small outbreaks like the one at Pacific Seafood in Newport.
Between finding these sort of hot zones or outbreaks, mini outbreaks around the state, and our stepped up ability to find and test people and test the people we should test, all of that mixed together is contributing to this increase in cases.
As for the recent protests and demonstrations, Dr. Wheeler thinks they could potentially lead to more cases, much like what we saw following the Memorial Day gatherings. But she also knows most people attending these events are wearing masks and taking all the right safety precautions.
I would hate for these protests to be blamed for subsequent spikes when we don't have real clarity on exactly what's happening during those protests.
So what, if any, impact will this uptick have on the reopening of counties? Multnomah County is scheduled to enter phase 1 of reopening this Friday. The county chair and health officer will be reviewing that plan at a special meeting. But as of now, that plan has not changed. And Dr. Wheeler says those experts are well aware that as the guidelines soften, there will be an uptick in cases.
Our hope is that we can judiciously, manage each uptick until we get to that point where we have enough immunity in the community to limit, to make us able to open everything without risk.
But until that time, she says we should continue to take precautions, as she does every day.
I personally continue with my N95 covered with a cloth mask whenever I go out, and I'm very diligent about my hand hygiene, and I'm careful with things I bring into the home, not entertaining and not going anywhere that I don't absolutely need to do.
In Portland, Keely Chalmers, KGW News.
A new Seasons store in Southeast Portland reports one employee has been diagnosed with COVID-19. This is at the Seven Corners store on Division Street. They say the person had minimal, if any, contact with customers. Employees who had contact with this person will stay home for 14 days and will be paid during that time. The store has since been deep cleaned and sanitized. Governor Kate Brown has announced all staff and residents at long-term care facilities in Oregon will be tested for COVID-19. Care centers, of course, have been hotspots for outbreaks. Healthcare at Foster Creek in Southeast Portland is one example of that. More than 100 people associated with the facility have tested positive, and 30 people have died. Healthcare at Foster Creek shut down last month.